Alright guys, so this is Shreyas here again, and today I'm gonna be talking about two more core node modules that comes with Node.js. So the first one is gonna be file structure, or the other one is gonna be, I guess, the path. So those two are the two new core modules that I'm gonna be introducing, and you guys will see exactly how we make use of those two core modules in the code itself later on. Excuse me. So what we are doing over here is logging some information about requested URL. So as you already know that each request message has a URL included in that, and so does the method. So this is pretty much a method of request that we are using to perform that request, and that's gonna be like get, post, put, delete, and that's about it. So that's exactly what we're logging over here, and then what we are doing over here is checking if the request method is equal to get or not. So if the requested method is get, then we're gonna be executing this part of this code. Otherwise, what we're gonna do over here is throw out a 404 error and say that the method that you requested is not supported, since we are not handling any other type of methods over here. And if we define put over here, obviously we'll be handling put or post. So that's it for now. We'll be getting more into all the HTTP verbs later, but for now let's move forward with the code. And over here I'm defining a variable for storing file URL, and you guys will see how I make use of that variable later on. And over here, so what we are doing is checking if the request the URL is equal to just forward slash. So let's run this program and see what I mean when I say I want to check just if the request is just forward slash. Cd my app. No, cd documents my app. And as you can see over here, I already created the directory, and I already have the one of public directory and server.js. Actually, let me before I run this application, let's just check what kind of information this public directory holds. So it has two HTML files, and that's exactly the content of these two files is what we're gonna be responding the request with, and it depends how we're gonna make the request. So you guys will see later on. Now let's fire this application up right there. So in order to fire this application up, as I said before, node and then the file name, you can just simply say node server, still works. And over here it's saying that there's some error, and oh, right here, concatenation. Let's run this again. Okay, so as you can see over here, it's logged that information that we logged in previous video as well. Server running at HTTP localhost 3000 port 3000. So let's make a simple request. See, right now I'm not including any URL, like any additional URL over here. So I'm not saying that, oh, get me that test.html or whatever. I'm just with not even a slash. So when you make that kind of request, what happens is this is as you can see over here, it takes that URL as just simple forward slash, and as you can see over here, we made the get request. So that's what it does, and that's what I mean when I say that when a user make just plain simple request without any additional URL, we're gonna be using the content of this HTTP index.html file. And let's move forward to this else statement, and let's see what this is doing. So over here, if this request, if this request URL is not just simple forward slash URL, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna be storing that file URL instead of getting content from this index.html file. We're gonna be storing that URL to the requested URL file URL to the requested URL. And what I mean by that is when we request, let's say now when you see index, let's actually request the index.html file, and it's still rendering the same thing. Why? Because let's move forward with the code, and that's exactly what I will explain to you guys why. over here, as you can see, request for /index.html, and that's the additional URL we provided in the request. So that's exactly what's that storing to index.html. And now what we're gonna do is take the URL and concatenate it with this public folder. So we are pretty much saying that this is the file we need, and that's gonna be in this public folder, and we are pretty much constructing a path. And what this path.resolve does is, let's say I requested index.html. Let's remove this for now. So when you concatenate, we are pretty much just replace, when you define the variable, we pretty much just replace that variable, or it holds the value for this value of the string. So that's it, pretty much concatenate the string to string and reconstruct this path. Now what this path.resolve does is it returns in absolute path for this index.html. Right now it's a relative path. If you guys don't know much about relative or absolute path, I guess suggest that you guys take a look at it. And anyways, but moving forward, let's change this back. And what we are doing after that is, after we construct that file path, we're gonna, over here, once we store that absolute path for that file, what we're gonna do is we're gonna store the extension of that file. So over here is gonna be like full path and then the index.html, and it's gonna be checking the file name and the extension of that file, and it's gonna be storing that extension over here. And after that, what we do is check if that file extension is actually HTML or not. So we don't wanna because since we only have two files and both of them are HTML, and we don't have any other file form extension included for now. So excuse me, that pretty much we want to handle it that like, we don't have anything else, so we don't want to serve it, and whatever you requested is not available pretty much. So that's exactly what we're doing over here, is that if the file extension is HTML, execute this part of the code, and if it's not, we're gonna be throwing an error saying that error 404, and the file that you requested, or the URL that you requested, is not an HTML file, because the extension of the file that you requested is not HTML. Simple. And after that, over here, let's get back to this. If it's an HTML file, what we do is we check if that file path exists or not, and if it exists, if it doesn't exist, we again throw out another error, 404 error, saying another response actually, and saying that error 404 and file requested URL that you sent is not found. So even if it's HTML file, let's say, but the file name is something else, we pretty much that we don't have that file exist in our directory, and that's about it, I guess. And if it does exist, what we want to do is we want to respond it with this 200 status code. And what 200 status code means is everything okay, and we were able to handle the client's request successfully. And then this again is the same as previous video. Over here, notice over here though, this is what we are using the file system again to create a readable stream for this file path. So as we mentioned over here, so after all these criteria, after it finds the specific HTML file, what we want to do is actually go to the file and read the content of the file, and make pipe that content of that file, specific file, requested file, to the response, the body object or body of the response message. And that's exactly what we are doing, that we are reading content from the specific file and responding with the body of that content. So I guess that's about it, and let's test it out. Let's see what's going on. So as I said, let's test the first criteria. What we are saying here is the get one. Actually, let's make a post request instead of get and see if it does anything. Okay, localhost 3000 there. As you can see over here, 404 not found, and if you check the body, not supported, because that's exactly what we are responding with in the server. If you can let's see here, not supported, and that condition is for if it's not a get method. So that's what it is. And let's test the second criteria. Now what we want to do is let's say the what was the second one. What we are checking here is if it's an HTML file or not. So let's say index.js instead of index.html. Now the file name is there, but the extension is not there, so it's gonna throw out, oh, not an HTML file. And that's pretty much about it, and that's exactly where we are throwing this where is this, over here, this criteria or this condition. And after that, the last one would be if you want to check if the file exists or not. So let's say we want to call in let's say test.html. Now that file is not going to be there, obviously. It matches this criteria, it matches this, it construct the path successfully, but the file doesn't exist. I mean, the path that you requested doesn't exist, so it's going to throw out this error that's saying that not found. And let's take a look at see, every time we made different requests. When we made index request, in index it says this is the URL that we are requesting, and pretty much we are using the URL again. Let's make another request just for the second file that we created, the contact.html, and bam, right there. You guys can follow me on Instagram if you guys want, but anyways, that's just one of the gig. So that's about it, I guess, and that's pretty much we can use. So these are the different type of core node modules that the Node.js comes with. There are many more modules in the Node.js itself, but we won't be looking into that. And that's about it for now. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave the comments, guys, and have a nice day.